Iraq's Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki flat out rejecting Washington's calls to form this new unity government. In a televised address, Maliki said the U.S. plan to get the warring factions to come together goes against the Iraqi constitution.
It is no secret to all Iraqis the dangerous goals behind the call for the formation of a National Salvation Government, as they call it. It is simply an attempt by those who rebel against the Constitution to end the young democratic process and confiscate the opinions of the voters and circumvent the constitutional merits. The call for the formation of a National Salvation Government is a coup against the Constitution and the political process.
That statement there coming as the situation in Iraq just got a whole lot more dangerous and dire. Syria apparently getting involved in the fight against ISIS. And in this ironic twist, it appears the Assad government that the U.S. has strongly condemned is now assisting the Iraqi army, the very same army the U.S. is helping. Is this a case of the enemy as my friend? You have Syrian warplanes reportedly launching a series of airstrikes in western Iraq in cooperation with the Iraqi army. At least 57 civilians were killed, according to local officials there. Joining me live from Baghdad, our senior international correspondent, Nick Robertson. And Nick, tell me more about the airstrike and just how involved is the Syrian army at this point?
Well, the government here in Baghdad, we talked to the military spokesman this evening, and he said, look, no Syrian aircraft came into our space. We control our airspace. We monitor it with radar, and we've seen no violations of our airspace. None of this really adds up, Brooke. But what you know, at a sort of at a government-to-government level, getting a clear answer, none of it adds up, because the Syrians are denying they're doing it too. But the reality is people on the ground are seeing Syrian aircraft in the sky, and people are being killed. What the reality on the ground is also, and what it adds up to on the ground, is angst and anger. People are seeing women and children being killed and brutally maimed in these bombings, and that, of course, is going to fuel sectarian tension. The one thing Secretary Kerry said that he wanted to be clear about when he was in Baghdad 2 days ago was that there should be no outside interference by any country that could raise the sectarian tensions or be misinterpreted on the ground here, and that's what seems to be happening. You got those rocket strikes, apparently bomb strikes by the Syrian Air Force today. We've learned this evening just south of Baghdad, 6 people killed, 21 wounded in a suicide bombing coupled with mortar bombing on a popular cafe about 25 miles south of Baghdad. And also another incident in the west of Iraq, rocket strikes on a mosque and a house there. Again, innocent civilians being killed and wounded there. All of this, all of these incidents is just raising the temperature here. But while we see the Syrians taking on ISIS fighters out in the very west of Iraq, closer to the capital here, a line has been drawn in the sand by the Iraqi army, and they're taking them on right there. Just west of Baghdad, Iraqi army soldiers celebrate a rare victory. Bodies are draped over the hood of their Humvee. Look at those ISIS. We killed them, those pimps, ISIS, one of them shouts. Not far away, more Iraqi soldiers battle the militants. Amid claims and counterclaims of who controls what, the government insisting it has retrenched and refocused its forces to keep ISIS out of the capital. Inside Baghdad, we find thinly manned checkpoints, no heavy weapons in sight. A solitary armoured personnel carrier is all. We're driving out to the west of Baghdad. The army's drawn a line in the sand there to stop the ISIS advance coming in from the west of the country. But it's far from clear that they can do it. The morale's been collapsing. There's been such a high desertion rate. In better days, this main artery of the capital would have been clogged with traffic. We see only occasional army trucks on the road. No tanks or big guns. Baghdad Airport is just over there. I can see 2 helicopters flying over there. That's one of the targets for ISIS. This road that we're on right now, a few years ago, this is where US troops were targeted regularly. We're now gone beyond the outskirts of the city limits here. We're in a district called Abu Ghraib. Driving on, we see a few roadside vendors.
the shabby remnants of once thriving market stalls, struggling to find buyers on the fringes of what is becoming a wasteland.
This is as far as we can go. We can't go to the next checkpoint. We've got to turn around. It's too dangerous to go any further right now.
Precisely what dangers we'd meet if we drove on are unclear. But images like these, posted on the web by ISIS, give a hint. Iraqi soldiers in civilian clothes shown with their IDs. Fear on faces about what's coming, well-founded. The next frames show the men being executed. Such images clearly having a chilling effect on Iraqi troops, and most soldiers on this highway would rather not drive on to find out what ISIS is really like. Driving back into Baghdad, hitting the city limit, security somewhat tighter. 20 minutes to get our papers checked, longer than the passport control at the international airport. But still no heavy weapons visible. If ISIS gets this far to the edge of Baghdad, with such a thin military presence in their way, no telling where ISIS will stop.
Yeah, we got the army today to take us further out of the city when we got to kind of where their front lines are, even further out. You know what? There's very few troops out there as well, Brooke.
Glad you got the perspective outside of the city. Nick Robertson, thank you so much. Live in Baghdad. Just ahead, the